Hello, everyone. I've got Durell Coleman. He's the CEO and founder of DC Design and the creator of Design for the Future. He is a brilliant designer who's talking about this human-centered design stuff that I absolutely do not get and wish I fully understood. I hope you're with me. Stick around for this episode.
Welcome to Your Mark on the World, bringing you another changemaker with champion of social good, Devin D. Thorpe.
This episode is made possible via the support of our sponsors, including Johnson & Johnson's Caring Crowd. Durell, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. And you're doing just some of the coolest stuff. I'm so excited to learn more about what you're doing and to see if we can't suck some wisdom out of you. Tell us a little bit about DC Design. Give us a bit of an overview.
Yeah. So DC Design is a social impact design firm. What we do is we look at the systems across society, specifically the ones that are broken, that don't work well, and we redesign those to work better for everyone. So a lot of our work has been in spaces from healthcare to foster care and criminal justice to education. And we've got some different initiatives in all those different spaces.
You've done some really cool things. What's some of this work that you're most proud of having accomplished?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is our Design the Future program, which is really our initiative in the education space. So that is work that brings together individuals with physical disabilities, high school students, university students, professors, and really takes all the things that those different groups have learned in the classroom and says, how do we make these real? How do we help students create something that is actually going to be lasting and impactful in the world, not just another class project?
Well, you've been involved in some fairly large-scale projects as well. What are some of the bigger projects you've worked on?
Yeah, so outside of the educational space, I mentioned criminal justice as well. So we're currently engaged in a long-term project with a government client here in California, and we're really looking at jail reentry. So criminal justice reform as a whole, but also jail recidivism. How do you help people not go back to jail once they've left jail? And the prevailing set of thoughts around that is really, it comes down to the environment that you're creating and the set of systems that are put in place, the services as well. And so we do work directly with those who've been to jail, directly with those who are also running those systems, the sheriff, the DA, public defender, et cetera, to make sure that the problems that lead to someone going back to jail have been defined properly, and to make sure that the solutions that are being come up with incorporate the ideas from those who've been to jail, as well as those who are throughout the rest of the system as a whole.
This system thinking is remarkable. I find myself just following systems and patterns in so much of life. And so I guess it does make sense that someone who comes out of jail or prison would succeed or fail based in large part on the system that is set up for him or her upon reentry into society.
Yeah, and we really think about it as, when we're taking the systems view, ultimately, like, the society that we live in is one that was created by people. It was one that was designed by other people like us, sometimes more people, sometimes fewer people. And that means that it's both something that has flaws or challenges or issues with it, and it's also something that we have the chance to redesign. And that's really the approach that we take. So,
how do you think about human-centered design? I mean, give us the preamble to human-centered design 101.
Yeah.
What are the basics?
So the foundational principles of human-centered design is that typically when we're designing something, right, we care about how that thing affects people. We care about the people that are at the center of it. We care about the people who are going through the criminal justice system. We care about the people who are affected by their actions, both before and afterwards, the public as a whole. And so human-centered design just makes it very explicit by saying we are focusing on the needs of human beings and how they think, how they feel, how they're able to survive and thrive. We're going to put those needs, though, at the center of the process. And in order to do that, We are going to speak directly to the people who experience a problem or a challenge. One of the phrases that I like to say is, you can't design for someone that you don't talk to. And at least you can't design well for someone that you don't talk to. But in a lot of our institutions, the systems that we continue to perpetuate, the things we create, we try to design without talking to the people who we're directly trying to serve. And it leads to us solving problems that no one has, or creating solutions that no one wants.
Yeah. How do you get people to move away from solving problems for the rich who really don't need to have their problems solved, or whose problems are, in the common parlance, the first world problems, while so many real acute needs exist among people with fewer resources?
I think there's a few reasons that we do that, and a few ways of approaching it. So one of the reasons I think we do that is that because it's easier. It's easier to design for people who have more money. It's easier to design for people who we are closer to in many ways. And a lot of times, the people doing the designing are people who also are like the people they're designing for. And so one of the ways that I think we address this is by making sure that the design mindsets, the skill sets associated with saying, how do I look at a challenge, talk to the people who actually have it, recognize where my skill sets are and where their skill sets are, because they do have skill sets that are important and necessary to solving an issue. How do I use those in a way, where we can confront these issues? We need to make sure that those mindsets are something that everyone has access to, first of all. And that will mean that some people are solving more problems within their own community. I think the second piece, and the reason why we don't design for some of these other major systemic issues, is that they're really challenging. They're really hard to approach. And a lot of the comments that I hear from people are, where do I start? How do I actually affect change on that issue? I don't really know how I could get involved. I don't want to feel like a nuisance. And so we try really hard to break down the design steps into smaller pieces to teach people directly how you go out and you start making change on some of these bigger social challenges that we have.
Well, that is really helpful to me to understand how this all works, because I think it's just so vitally important. Durell, you've had a remarkable career, young as you are. What's the most important thing you've learned so far in your career?
I think the most important thing I've learned is probably something that was more so reinforced from my parents. And it is that everyone has something to offer. Experts have something to offer, but so do the people who are on the ground doing the work. So do the people who we often don't ask. We don't ask their perspective. We don't ask their opinion. We don't ask what they think, but they have ideas and they've got insights into how to solve a certain problem. And so what I've learned is ultimately, like, none of these issues can be solved with or addressed, approached, or reduced in magnitude when only one group is controlling what's happening. We really do need everyone to come to the table together to make it work.
That's fantastic. Durell, you could be doing anything. I mean, for crying out loud, you graduated from Stanford twice. How many times have I mentioned that in this discussion? I don't know, but obviously that caught my attention. Smart guy, incredibly capable. You focused on sort of human-centered design. You focused on helping people. You focused on doing good. Why?
Yeah. That's a great question. So this really goes back to my childhood and my upbringing, and also some of the things that happened to me when I was a kid as well. But when I was 8 years old, my mom asked me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, "I want to be an inventor." She said, "How are you going to make money?" I said, "I'm going to have my own company one day that makes things and sells them." And when she asked me that question, my ideas were, I want to create flying cars. I want to be on Oprah. I want to accept awards. But I learned that there were bigger plans for me. And the next year, my brother was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. And this cancer, which he was diagnosed with, he was 5 years older than me, really, it was incredibly challenging. It was incredibly challenging for him, for me to witness, and also for my family as a whole. And, for the next 5 years, I witnessed my brother, David, go into remission, come out of remission, be told that he wouldn't survive, make it back to his varsity soccer team, play in his final games, graduate from high school with a standing ovation, beat the odds over and over again. But also at the end of that 5 years, he lost his battle with cancer. And so I was left in this place where I was depressed from that experience. And I was really trying to make sense of where I go from here. And I thought back to a few memories that I had. One was that time when I told my mom what I wanted to be, and I still wanted to be that. I wanted to be an inventor. But then I also thought back to this time in the hospital when my brother had to drink a barium contrast, which helps you better see scans or see the tumors inside your body. And he would throw up from drinking this all the time. And so he looked at me one day while he was in the midst of that battle of trying to drink this contrast, and he said, "When you become an inventor, can you make this taste better?" Right? And so as I'm wading through the depression after his passing, I'm thinking, and I realized, like, my dream of creating things that are just, flying cars or just for fun, it didn't have the same spark for me. For me, creating things that didn't help other people felt meaningless. And so I set myself on this journey for the rest of my life. It was basically, I'm going to create things that improve quality of life. There's meaning in that. I know I can live in a way that is honoring of my brother and the life that he lived so fully while he was alive and wanted to keep living. And that I can also live in a way that I know provides meaning for me every day.
Wow. Durell, I'm sorry about the loss of your brother. That's tough. Of course, we're all better for it because of how it has inspired you. So we're grateful that you would channel your passion into the good work that you're doing now. Durell, what is your superpower?
What is my superpower? I would say, if I had one superpower, it would be vision. And when I say vision, I mean that in most situations, and I think, again, this comes from my upbringing, it comes from, being in a military family, this notion of improvise, adapt, and overcome. No matter what situation I'm in, I see a variety of paths. I see more paths than I think are often realized. And those paths lead to results or the outcomes that we're really trying to achieve. So as I think both about the problems that we work on as a firm, I'm always thinking about, what is the thing we haven't tried, the thing we haven't talked about, the thing we haven't put in place yet. And then as I think about what we could be as a people, like I think we can be so much more than what we are right now. And it's right there. Like, our ability to be that is right there. And I see it. So much of my superpower comes down to being able to see the things that I think are possible.
Oh, that's terrific. Well, Durell, we're so grateful that you would take the time to be with us today. I know you're busy and you've got to run, but before you go, would you take just a minute and tell us how we can learn more about DC Design and how people can connect with you personally?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can check us out on our website at dcdesignltd.com. You can check out our Design the Future program there as well, which is also at designthefuture.dcdesignltd.com. And you can see us on social media at DC Design Ltd on Twitter and on Instagram as well.
Fantastic. Well, again, Durell, we so appreciate the time you've taken to be with us today and wish you every success in the great work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Let's do some good.
At Caring Crowd, we believe everyone has the power to make a difference. Through our crowdfunding platform for community health, we empower passionate people to drive real change. Whether you work for a nonprofit organization, volunteer, or want to get involved for the first time, you can post a campaign on Caring Crowd. Join us, because caring is where change begins.
Thank you for listening. This podcast is available at youtube.com/Devin Thorpe. Subscribe to this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes by searching for Your Mark on the World. Every weekday, Devin hosts a CEO, celebrity, entrepreneur, or other changemaker here on the Your Mark on the World show to inspire and prepare you to make your mark. Devin is a champion of social good, writing about, advocating for, and advising people who are doing good. He is a Forbes contributor who is a recognized thought leader in social entrepreneurship, impact investing, and crowdfunding. To book Devin as a speaker, visit devinthorpe.com.